There are plenty of exciting new plastic kits for the US with the new American Bulge release. But while I'm keen to look at those, there's also a few re-releases of older plastic kits that deserve a second look. One of these is the M4 Sherman, a plastic kit from 2014. Join me for a look. I've dug through my stash and unearthed UBX44, the M4 late Platoon box set for Flames of War. This is the old version 3 boxing of the plastic M4 Sherman kit from 2014. However, the plastic in here is the same as you'll find in UBX88, the new M4 Sherman late Platoon box set. This new set is due out in November as part of the version 4 American Bulge releases. With Sherman production in full swing by 1942, there was an opportunity to refine the design. The M4 increased front armour from 2 inches to 2.5 inches. However, the angle of the front glasses plate was changed from 56 degrees to 47 degrees, meaning the effective armour thickness was about the same. The new glasses plate angle eliminated the protruding hatch bulges in the front plate, resulting in a stronger and simpler construction. Larger crew hatches were fitted to the hull, which enabled the driver and bow gunner faster egress in an emergency. Some M4A3s were built with the standard 75mm gun-armed Sherman turret, but with a new commander's coupler in place of the earlier split hatch, as well as a separate loader's hatch added. This meant the loader didn't have to manoeuvre under the main gun to exit via the commander's hatch, a big improvement in survivability. Later Shermans, including the M4A3, were fitted with the larger T-23 turret, armed with the long-barrel 76mm gun. This gun gave significantly improved anti-armour penetration. The M4A3 design used the more powerful 450 horsepower liquid-cooled Ford GAA V8 gasoline engine in place of the earlier radial aircraft engines. The US Army decided the M4A3 was the Sherman variant that would continue in service after the war. A number of improvements to the design, including a wider track and new horizontal volute suspension system, were introduced in the closing stages of the war. Despite the US fielding later tank designs like the M26 Pershings and the M46 Patton post-war, the M4A3 Sherman served with distinction in Korea. If we look at the back of the new M4 Sherman late Platoon box, we can see an exploded assembly diagram and 2 images of completed M4A3 Shermans. The diagram shows the options in this kit to build a 75mm, 76mm or 105mm armed tank. The box set contains enough parts to build 5 vehicles, as well as a US decal sheet and a sprue of plastic tank commander figures. The kit can be assembled as the 75mm version or the 76mm T-23 turret variant. There are enough parts to build both turrets, so you don't need to choose to field one or the other. Build both. Or you can build the standard turret with the 105mm howitzer to field the assault gun version. Let's look at the plastic. Each tank comes on 2 sprues. These are my older medium grey sprues, but I'm guessing the new box set will have these moulded in the current dark olive green plastic used for most Battlefront US kits. The first thing you'll notice is there are a lot of parts here, many more than is usual for current Battlefront plastics. Remember that this is an early plastic kit dating from the period where Battlefront was transitioning from resin and metal to plastics. This is a great kit with a ton of options, but Battlefront plastics have evolved to be simpler since 2014. The first sprue has the upper and lower hull parts, mantlets, glasses plates, hatches and weapons. The upper hull piece has good engine deck and tool detail. You can see the large engine louvers characteristic of the Ford engine bay. You can also see the larger crew hatches of the M4A3 hull here. The lower hull shows differential keying for the track parts, which means you can't put the tracks on the wrong way. The engineering for the Sherman hulls hasn't changed much since this kit was designed. These parts are optional add-on hull armour plates that are welded over the ammunition bins on up-armoured M4A376s. The other piece is the gun trunnion for the 75mm gun. There's also a Cullen hedgerow cutter piece and a 30 caliber Browning machine gun on a pintle mount. These are both optional parts. The M4A3 transmission is a single-piece casting with a relatively sharp profile. Next to that is the standard M4A3 glasses plate. It's an interesting engineering choice to have this as a separate part rather than moulded directly onto the hull. It does result in a join line on the side of the hull when fitted, but the real vehicle had an armour weld line here, so that isn't a real issue. The headlights are a bit simplified, but okay for this scale. The other detail here is the gun cradle to lock and support the main gun for road movement or during transport. You get two 50 caliber Browning machine guns here. As I recall, there were fears the plastic guns could be broken cutting them free from the sprue, so there's a spare. It also means we have enough commander's guns if we build both turrets in this kit. The other piece here is a rear storage shelf for the hull, moulded integral with some spare track links in some mounting brackets. The two guns here are both for the 76mm M1 gun. One has the twin muzzle brake while the other just has the protective thread collar fitted. These are both for the 76mm turret and give you some options. Both versions were used. With the spare track links here is the older split commander's hatch for the 75mm turret. Next to that are two single-piece hatches to go on the T-23 turret commander's coupler, as well as a pair of turret pegs. This last section of the sprue has another glasses piece, identical to the previous one except it has add-on armour panels attached. There are two 76mm gun mantlets here. One has the standard 30 caliber coaxial machine gun, while the other has the less common 50 caliber gun. Finally, there's the 105mm howitzer gun barrel for building the optional assault gun M4A3 variant. The second sprue has all the turret pieces and one-piece tracks, as well as the 75mm guns and some hatches. Unfortunately, in this old boxing the sprue comes pre-separated into chunks. On opposite sides of the sprue are the 75mm guns. The guns are moulded integral with their gun shields. One has the earlier narrow M34 gun shield, while the other has the wider M34A1. The wider shield protected the coaxial machine gun and the gunner's telescopic sight. The M34A1 replaced the M34 in early 1943, so most M4A3 75mm Shermans would have had the wider shield. But the option of the earlier shield is there if you want to use it. Here's the upper and lower parts for the 75mm turret. This is similar to the turret on other Shermans, but you can see an oval loader's hatch has been included. This change helped with crew survivability. There's also no turret cheek armour panels on this turret. The new casting was thickened over the front of the turret, so this was no longer required. The second turret is the T-23 turret for the 76mm gun. This turret has a complex casting geometry that's hard to capture in a model kit, but Battlefront's kit does a reasonable job. You can see the new commander's coupler with its single-piece hatch and all-round vision blocks. The vision blocks replaced a rotating periscope and improved the commander's view from inside the tank. This turret has an oval loader's hatch as well. This marks it as an early T-23 turret. Later production turrets replaced the oval hatch with a larger circular split hatch. Speaking of split hatches, there's an open split hatch here for the 75mm turret. Tracks are one-piece parts and represent the standard VVSS suspension. The upcoming Sherman Easy 8 plastic kit will include the later HVSS suspension, but that's not available here. Detail is pretty good. The vertical volute suspension is well detailed. Tracks are the rubber block type. The rubber chevrons are strongly rendered where they'll be visible, but are much less well defined elsewhere. That's perfectly acceptable for a wargaming piece where these surfaces are generally hidden anyway. There's detail where it's needed. The few parts left to cover here are the M52 mantlet and trunnion pieces for the 105mm howitzer gun, the bow 30 caliber machine gun and some closed hatches. So that's the parts for the Battlefront plastic M4A3 Sherman kit. Despite its age, this is a great kit that still builds up into a nice miniature. The kit builds three different tanks, the M4A375, the M4A376 and the M4A3 105mm howitzer. Given there are enough parts, you can build the turrets for at least two of these for each vehicle in the box. And there are just tons of options here, more than you get in modern Battlefront kits. Having the two 76mm gun options is great, as is the two 76mm mantlets. The extra glasses plate and hull armour pieces let you model an up-armoured Sherman as well. The extras like the Cullen cutter and the 30 caliber gun are great for added variety or for the bits box. I really enjoyed building these back in the day. They have lots of good options, but there are more parts than are usual in a wargaming kit these days. But enough parts to build the 76mm turret and either the 75 or 105mm one is a good bonus. I would recommend this as a solid late war US box set, but I'm still keen to see the new Easy 8 and Sherman jumbo kits due in the new releases. So how will the M4A3 go on the table? I'm going to look at the Bulge M4 Sherman late veteran tank platoon card. This card covers both the 75mm and 76mm gun-armed versions. I'll look at the 76mm here. So the US M4 late platoon is a tank unit. Motivation is confident, which gives teams in the platoon a 4+ roll. Remount is a 3+ with the protected ammo rule, reflecting the wet stowage bins for the ammunition in the tank. So you have better than even odds to get a bailed out crew back in the tank. Skill is a trained 4+, but they also get Yankee ingenuity, which gives a separate tactics roll of a 3+. If a unit has a separate tactics rating, this is used instead of their skill rating when attempting movement orders. In this case, it means teams succeed on a movement order roll on a 3+. That's going to make things like blitz or shoot and scoot that much easier to pull off. This veteran M4A3 platoon is rated as careful, meaning teams are hit on a 4+. Front armour is 7 with side and rear of 4 and top 1. Earlier Shermans had front armour of 6. But later glasses plate or casting redesigns like the M4A3 and the M4A176 hulls give these Sherman models just a little more armour in front. Tactical move is 10 inches or 25 centimetres. Movement stats are much the same as for other Shermans except for a slightly improved terrain dash of 14 inches or 35 centimetres. Cross is a 3+. This is all pretty standard. The M176mm gun has a 36-inch or 90cm range, with a moving and halted rate of fire of 2. Anti-tank is 12 with a 3+ firepower. The M1 gun is primarily an anti-tank weapon, so it has the no HE special rule. This gives it a +1 to hit penalty when trying to shoot at infantry and gun teams. The other special rule is stabilizer, which gives a +1 to hit penalty when firing on the move. The payoff for this penalty is that moving doesn't drop your rate of fire. You still get 2 shots when moving. The other weapons are the machine guns. The Commander's 50 caliber machine gun has a 20-inch or 50cm range, with a halted rate of fire 3 and moving of 2. AT is 4 with a 5+ firepower. This weapon does have self-defense AA, so it can fire at attacking aircraft with a rate of fire 1. The other machine guns have a 16-inch or 40cm range, with rate of fire 2 moving or halted, anti-tank of 2 and a 6+ firepower. So that's the plastic M4A3 kit from Battlefront. I don't want to spend too much time wrapping this up because this is an older release, but it is a good kit that goes together well and makes a nice looking model for the table. It has lots of options and lots more optional parts than is usual for current Battlefront kits. But on the table there's very little advantage in taking the M4A3, or the M4 Sherman Late as Battlefront now calls it in the game. The only real benefit from taking veteran M4A3 76 Shermans over veteran M4A176s from D-Day is a slight increase in terrain dash for the more powerful engine. In all other respects, the tank's weapons and stats are identical. This means the difference between 76mm armed Shermans for late war American lists is mostly cosmetic. It's up to you which one you visually prefer. However, this might change with the release of the Easy 8 and Jumbo. I'll cover these both in more detail when I get hold of the plastic, but here are their unit cards for a quick look. The Jumbo has significantly increased armour protection, but at the cost of a 4+ cross. Plus you can only have one Jumbo, so that limits you a bit. But it will be useful as a bullet magnet if you can mistake and target shots onto its armour rather than onto your regular Shermans. The Easy 8 on the surface looks almost identical to the M4A3, but it does get the smooth ride special rule. I haven't seen the specifics, but apparently this rule allows you to still shoot at your halted rate of fire if your movement is less than 4 inches. This would help make games very mobile affairs, much like actual American tactical doctrine. Again, I'll cover these both in more detail in their own videos. Hopefully you enjoyed this blast from the past to have a look at the M4A3 Sherman kit and the M4 Sherman Late Platoon box set. Its re-release will be overshadowed by some of the newer US Bulge releases, but it was worth taking a look. See you next time.